Hello and welcome back to another Makeup Monday video. I'm Jennifer Mata-McMahon. In this video I wanted to share with you some of the foundations I've been using and loving lately. Some of them are high-end, some of them are drugstore price points, and I thought it would be interesting to look at what I'm using right now because the climate has changed. So now that we're in the winter months, the foundations that I use and love are a little bit different from the ones that I used and loved back in the summer. And back in the summer in July, I had filmed a video on my favorite foundations, and I showed you all the different foundations that I had, both high-end and drugstore ones. And I wanted to sort of update you on what products from that video I continue to use in the winter months, and also share with you a couple of new ones that I have been using and really liking as well. So let's get into it. Okay, so the two new foundations that I have in sort of my rotation of foundations are both from the drugstore, or at least drugstore price points, because the first one that I'm going to share with you is this EX1 foundation, and I got this via Amazon, so I got it online. And I took a little bit of a leap of faith with this one because I was listening to a video on undertones for skin and how sometimes we have an olive based undertone and not really know it, and that tends to happen to people that have sort of a neutral kind of complexion, so that you could be warm, you could be cool tone, or you're somewhere in the middle, or maybe you're neutral, or you kind of don't quite know. And I think that was my case. So when I heard that video, I was excited to try the products that they were recommending, because I thought, I feel like I have a little bit of a warm undertone to my skin, but still my skin, the tone of my skin is light, and I get red quite easily. So there's a lot of like pink and redness in my skin as well. So I'm always a little bit confused as, am I warm tone, am I cool tone? So I tend to say I'm kind of neutral because I can lean either way, although I think there is sort of like an oliveness tone to my skin as well. So in that video, that was one of the things that they were saying, is that sometimes we have this olive tone to our skin, but if we're light in terms of our tone, of the coloring of the shade sort of our skin, it's hard to find a foundation that has all of that going on for it, and that will be a really true or great match for the skin. Because sometimes I go with light colored foundations and they're too light for me. But if I go to the warm spectrum of the foundations, then they're too yellow. Or if I go to the cool spectrum of the foundation, then they're too pink. So I'm somewhere in the middle, and I thought I'd try this out. So I got this, and this is the EX1 Invisiwear Liquid Foundation, and it tends to have an olive undertone to it. And it's advertised as really good for light skin tones that have that olive undertone. And my shade is F100. I've been using this one, and I find that it is a good match for my skin. I feel like it is a teensy bit dark, but I still use it. And one of the things I like about it is that just with a little bit of amount of this foundation, I can get full coverage of my face. And the packaging is really nice. It comes with this pump, and I just pump it out on my back of my hand and dot it on my face, and then go in with a dampened beauty blender or beauty sponge and get full coverage with that. Or if I even want a little bit more coverage, I'll go in with a brush. But I like to go in with a sponge with full coverage foundations, because it helps, a wet sponge helps absorb, the sponge will absorb a little bit of the foundation, and it won't look too heavy on the skin. But this can give me really good full coverage, but if I don't dilute it a little bit, I run the risk of it looking a little bit heavy, a little bit cakey on my face. So I really like it as a full coverage foundation, but for the winter months, it might be a little too much. So I have to pair it with a moisturizing kind of primer to use this. Along those same lines, the other foundation that I also have from the drugstore that is kind of new to me is this Catrice HD Liquid Coverage Foundation, and it lasts up to 24 hours. It really does have a really long lasting power to it. Haven't worn it for 24 hours, so I couldn't tell you about that claim, but I have used it a whole day of work, having applied it say at 9 a.m. and coming home or taking off my makeup around 10 or 11, and it still looks good. So it definitely goes over the 12-hour mark. This foundation, the dispenser here is a dropper, right? So I do the same as with the other foundation, and I add some drops of it on the back of my hand, dot it on my face, and then go in with either a dampened beauty blender or a brush. Again, this one is also very high coverage, so it will cover everything and it will last a long time. And this one's mattifying as well. The other foundation doesn't claim to be mattifying, but I feel like it does mattify. So with both of these, I go in with a moisturizing primer first, and then I apply the foundation. This one I bought online, and I guesstimated my color, and it works. I have 030 Sand Beige, and I just kind of like guessed it off of the website, and fortunately it works for me. I thought it was going to be from the bottle that it was going to be too light, but when you open it, you can see, even though it's kind of like a light color, it works for me, and I've been really enjoying wearing this foundation. So those are the two ones that I use when I want to go for full coverage and try to hide all imperfections, and when I want my foundation to last for a long time. So again, both of these can go easily over the 12-hour mark. The other two foundations I have been using a lot and enjoying are ones that I talked about in that video in July when I talked about my favorite foundations. So they are foundations that I've had in my rotation for a long time. I've used it much longer than the two previous ones I talked about. One is the IT Cosmetics CC Cream, and this one has SPF 50. I used a whole product of this in the color medium. I bought this in the summertime, and in the summertime medium seemed to be good for me because I get a little bit darker. I'm a little tanner at that point, and I used it all up. And then I bought the light one because I figured the medium one was a little too dark for me for the winter time. So I've been using this one, and as you can see, I've been loving it a lot because it's almost down to its last leg. Actually, it's getting hard to pump it out. This one also has a pump, so it's really easy to pump out on the back of my hand and then dot it around my face. And I typically go in with a brush with this one because it's a CC cream and it has a little bit less coverage than the other foundations I spoke about. And if I want a little bit more coverage, I'll get that with a brush versus a beauty blender. The thing about this one is that it's really good for winter because it's moisturizing. So I find that this CC cream doesn't mattify my face. I can, of course, set it with powder and make it a little more mattifying, but it tends to be a little more moisturizing. So the oils in my face will show up sooner with this foundation or with this CC cream than with the other foundations that are full coverage foundations and that are mattifying. This is not mattifying. So it's good for winter because of that, because it has a little bit more of moisture in it. But I need to go in, and I typically do go in before I apply this foundation with a mattifying primer, because if I apply a moisturizing primer and then I'll be an oily mess really soon. During the day, especially in my T-zone. My face is combination, my skin is combination, so I have areas of my skin that are dry and then areas of my skin that are oily. But the oily areas will definitely get oily if I use this and don't set it, or if I use this with a moisturizing primer and not a mattifying one. The last foundation that I want to talk about is my Dior Air Flash foundation. I love this foundation. This was the foundation that I used on my wedding day. So I had my makeup done by a makeup artist, and she used this on me. And actually, I went to a Dior sort of counter, a Dior makeup artist, and all of the products that were used on me on my wedding day were mainly Dior. So this was the foundation, and this is a different kind from the other ones because it's a spray foundation, and as you can tell, the applicator is a spray. So how I apply this, I don't spray it all over my face because that would be a huge mess. But what I do is I take my foundation brush and I spray this onto the foundation brush, and then I take the brush and sort of dot it on my face, and then I sort of like buff it and spread it all out. I really like how this looks on the skin. There is no way that this will look cakey on your skin. It's so lightweight. It's actually the foundation I have on right now. I do go in with powder afterwards and set it. After I've applied the foundation, I go in with powder and set it, and I do apply concealer because it's really lightweight. So it's not going to hide all the imperfections, but it will look like your skin, but better. It will look like you have nothing on your skin, but you look great, right? So if you don't like cake face or overly mattifying and overly thick kind of foundations, this is going to be for you. I think you can actually build this up. If you put several layers, I don't do it. I just put just one layer of it on my face. But I think if you put several layers of it on your face, you can definitely build it up. I have the shade 300. And again, this one, I got married in the summer, and this is what she used on me at that moment because it was summertime and I was a little more tan. So this was the match that I got for my face. I think that if I were to repurchase this for winter time, I would go like one shade down in terms of the tone of it, because it can be a little too dark. Although I am wearing it today and I feel like it's matching me quite well. One thing that I have noticed about this though is because it's not full coverage and it will not cover your imperfections, your skin has to look really, really good. So you have to have not flawless skin, but really good in terms of marks or blemishes, or those kinds of things can't be too prominent because this is not going to cover it. Yet it will give you that sort of air flash, like diffused kind of look to your own skin. So it will improve the skin you have, but if the skin you have to begin with is good, then this is a really good foundation for you. But if you have a lot of things that you want to cover, like when my skin is acting up, this is not going to cut it. This is not going to do the trick because I need to hide more things than this will, right? So that's one of the sort of the reflections that I've made with this foundation. It's great. I love it. It's really light, but because of that, because it's really light, it won't really cover imperfections. So your skin has to be really good to begin with. So that's that. So yeah, so that's it. Those are the foundations that I'm using right now. The two drugstore ones, because I'm trying or testing them out. They're new to me, so I'm sort of eager to see how they work. And I've been putting them on the side a little bit because they're really thick. And I think that for the winter time, thick, high coverage foundations tend to dry my skin a bit. So I sort of alternate. But the ones that I really am using a lot are these two. Because this one, because it gives me the moisturization that I need in the winter while my skin is getting dry by the indoor heat or by the coldness outside. And then this one because it's really light and it looks like I have nothing on. So yeah, share with me what you're using. What do you wear during the winter times in terms of foundation? And if you have combo skin or sort of the same issues of skin that I do, just please share if there's anything that that you think I should be trying, because I know that these two are my favorites, but they're both on their way out because I'm running really low on them. So I think that it will come a point where I'll need to repurchase a lightweight either CC cream or foundation, because everything else that I have is really high coverage and sort of like too much for the winter months. So that's it. Thank you for stopping by and thank you for spending time with me, and I will see you again soon. Bye.